And we are back. Peace, love, and blessings, everyone. It's your bros, Jabrilliant Engineer and Tariq Cardiac. Welcome back to the STEM Files, the voice of STEM talent in Black culture. On tonight's episode, we have Ledyitee Wheagar, quality engineer, who's going to give you some high quality content as we talk about engineered on purpose. Tune in for more on this episode. But before we get into it, let's get into the topic.
And who just stopped that?
I think that might have been an accident. I was scrolling. I think it was an
Bro,
accidental tap.
like, hold up. All right.
All right, we're good. We're good. I think I thought I hit it on and wasn't supposed to hit it on. We good. All right, we keeping it moving, keeping it moving. Again, welcome back, everyone. We took a bit of a hiatus, but we are back. Your Black and STEM podcast, the STEM Files, where we do our best to highlight the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I'm your humble co-host, Jabril Muhammad, aka Jabrilliant Engineer. I'm a civilian mechanical engineer focusing on naval ship fluid systems with a background in material science and engineering, the study of the various material classes and how their structures impact the various applications they can be used in. I am always joined by my more illustrious co-host, Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac. What's going on, bro?
Yes, sir. And as my brother just mentioned, I am too excited that we are back after a little break. Sometimes you need to take a break and recharge and come back at it. But I am Tariq Muhammad, aka Tariq Cardiac. I'm a biomedical research scientist with a concentration in cardiovascular pathobiology, which is the study of how diseases form in the heart and blood vessels. I also work with patients after they have had heart surgery in a clinical setting. So I'm excited for tonight's episode. I'm going to let my brother lead on this one because this is an engineering-based episode. So, bro, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, he's saying that he's an engineer at heart. We're gonna talk about that at another time. All right, family. Well, as we always say, but first, before we get into that, we are live right now on Facebook and YouTube at the STEM Files Live. Tariq Cardiac, Jabrilliant Engineer. Make sure to follow us at the STEM Files on Instagram and Twitter, as well as on Facebook and YouTube, the STEM Files. That is the STEM Files on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure to like, comment, and share. Ask your questions. We're looking to answer all of your questions as we get into today's show. Make sure you share with all your family members, your dog, your fish, your colleagues, right? Those who you don't even like, they might like the show. So I'm sharing with them too. All right. So without further ado, the show is not about us, but who we bring on to the platform to share their spirit, to share their technical background, their personal background, so that you may be inspired to not only pursue STEM, but whatever it is that you may have as an aspiration for yourself, future and future family. So without further ado, we have Miss Ledyitee Wheagar, who is a quality engineer. She's going to take us more into the program and tell us about herself. How are you, sis?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well as well. Happy to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing me on. I really appreciate this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We appreciate you more. So
So,
yeah, so just you can just start off, just kind of go a little bit into your background, kind of who you are, what kind of brought you to this point, and then we'll kind of go from there and just get into more of your technical background and what you hope to do in the future.
okay, wonderful. So, as Jabril mentioned, my name is Ledyitee Wheager. I am a quality engineer. That is my current job title. My background is in biomedical engineering and industrial engineering. So, what I do right now is that I work with um, supplier quality functions. So there's I'm not going to get into that too much right now, but there's two different types of quality: supplier quality and process quality. And I work with the supplier quality group right now to help improve the processes and the way that we do things to make it more efficient and get product out the door in a top quality manner. What brought me to engineering was my story kind of goes back, let's say, to seventh grade or so.
Okay.
I was really good at math. And then when I got to high school, I figured that I liked biology and chemistry as well. I did a research project at Rider University in Jersey where I got to work with grad students and on the effects of chemotherapy on the hippocampus. It is a really long title for a project, but understanding how chemotherapy impacts memory. So I did that as a high schooler, and I was like, man, this is great. I could probably see myself doing this. But then I realized that biology, there wasn't, after my research, I didn't think there was like that many job outlooks for me. So I did more research, and then I realized I could combine biology with my love from medicine as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, biomedical engineering, that's it. And I'm going to be pre med. So I started down that path. And I quickly realized that medical school was probably not going to be for me.
Mm.
So I dropped pre med, stayed with biomedical engineering, thought I was going to do prosthetics.
Okay.
That was a whole another turn of events. So my senior year, through the whole path, I thought that prosthetics was a certificate program, but my senior year it got converted to a master's degree program. So
Mm.
I wasn't graduating with all the prereqs needed for the program. Therefore, I didn't
Wow.
get in. Uh,
Mm.
so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna figure out what I can do from here. Started working as a clinical engineer at a hospital. Really love the medical devices, and I'm like, okay, this is it. So I'm gonna stick with devices, and found my way what we consider in-house. So being in the field as a clinical engineer would be outside of like the company that manufactures the device. You're taking care of it for them. So you're in the field. I wanted to be in-house, and then found my way in-house in the corporate setting as a quality engineer, and so here I am.
Nice.
I ain't salty or nothing, but you could have just held on to medicine just a little bit longer. I mean, there's tons of things out here to do. I'm just saying, but I admire your story, and I always tell Jabril this. I love when we have people on the show who are a mixture of both him and myself. Jabril coming from the engineering side, myself coming from the biomedical side, and you just are merging both. So it's always good to see somebody on the show that is half of what we are. So I love that. So let's define some terminology. So before we go any further, what is quality engineering? What is industrial engineering? What is biomedical engineering? What are the key differences between these types of engineering?
Okay, yeah, so that was the one thing that I did forget to mention. I also got my master's recently in industrial engineering. So, and with the focus more so on quality engineering. So, what quality engineering is the practice of quality assurance and control into a product, good, or process, right? You have the process quality engineering, which is the person you would see. I'm going to keep it kind of high level, not to get too technical, but on a manufacturing line, for example, your process quality engineer is ensuring that that production line is meeting the quality standard.
Mm,
Supplier quality engineers are most almost everything, right? There's always going to be a supplier, a process, and then a customer. So
right,
on the front end with the supplier side, they're sending you products for you to build into your process. Now,
Right.
supplier quality ensures that the products coming in for you to build into your process are high quality. And I think what makes that really cool is, every step of the way, you want to make sure that the quality is great. Starting at the supplier, it has to be like top notch excellence. If you have good quality coming in, a good input gives you a good output. So
Right.
that's why I'm really like enjoying supplier quality even more. And the other thing that I really enjoy about it too is as a process quality engineer, you own that process. As a supply quality engineer, you're kind of monitoring somebody else's process. So I could tell you what to do and what needs to be done. And then after that, get it done is not my problem.
Mm,
Make sure it's
mm,
good. Like I can kind of shift back and forth. I don't have to stay with it the whole time. So if you like that ever changing, fast pace, supplier quality is really good for that because every day is a different thing.
mm, mm. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that because as you were talking, I was thinking about like the transfer of risk when you talk about risk management. Like, okay, as a supply process engineer, the risk is with the person who owns the process. You're kind of
Mhm.
managing and you're doing oversight, ensuring that that process stays to a certain specification. So,
Yes.
for all those listening, one of the reasons why this is so important is if I'm going to build something, and let's say that I'm like, I work with ships. So if I'm putting a ship together, right? But I get I get a certain package of components to help build, my uh, my system. But these components are not of high quality. What does that mean? All high quality means is they closely match or are very close to or not perfectly match up to the standard or specification that governs said component. The
Hmm.
further away from the specification or standard they are, the lower quality this component is. So if I get, depending on the quality of components I get, is going to be whether or not my system acts in accordance with the specified parameters or not. Ergo, can I do my job effectively or can I not? So this
Yeah.
called quality engineering, quality assurance and management is so key in your processes and system engineering and ensuring that people get things done effectively, efficiently in terms of on cost, performing as it's supposed to be, and on schedule. So
Hmm.
that's why I'm loving what you're talking about because it kind of feeds into the type of work that I do as well. So oh man, that's really cool. Standard deviation in math, the Black Math Academy. That's a beautiful comparison. Like how many standard deviations are you away from what you're supposed to be above or below the curve? You're going to be. It's going to show how good or bad you did on the test, etc. So thank you for that
Yeah.
comparison.
And I mean, and quality is everywhere. You for everything, there is a certain level of quality. You're it's may not be as out front as like a blueprint, but is
Hmm.
that customers' expectations. If you're not meeting that expectation, then that's low quality. So you want to make sure that you are meeting those expectations, and those are the standards that we monitor in supplier quality.
Hmm.
So talk about, and I'm glad we're talking about quality because, we're all the STEM files, we're all about black owned business, right? And often black people may not want to support black owned businesses because of the quality or the service or whatever, whatever excuse we come up with. So talk about, how important it is from a business standpoint that the quality of the product is fitting for the customer.
Oh man.
Why is so much money spent on quality when you're looking at a customer product?
Good question. Good question.
Yeah, that is a great question. So actually, like there is calculations for a poor cost of quality is what it's called. When you have poor quality, it will cost you. You may think you're taking a shortcut, whatever the case may be, but it will cost you. And a really interesting aspect when you say we're going to get into that a little bit later, but like the question about what is Lean Six Sigma. Um, so in Lean, the principles, uh, technically you want to one of the key principles about Lean is like reducing waste. So
Yes.
technically quality inspections is waste. You don't want to have that extra step. You want quality to be built in because it's costing you money.
Come on.
Yet have like regulatory industries and everything built around it. So although it is waste, it's everywhere, which means it's still very important. If you're not building it in, it's gonna if you don't pay for it now to make sure it's built in, it's gonna cost you later.
Right. Mm. Mm. That was oh my lord, this is amazing. Bro, this is like literally so important. It's because, like she was
You can just
saying,
design it.
you're gonna pay for it somewhere.
Right.
Hmm.
You much rather pay for it up front versus a customer come back to you and say something failed. Like a big
And you
part of
pay the
what I
ultimate
do
price.
sometimes, and like again, not going into supreme detail, but I am very integral in supplying replacement parts for things that have failed. Now, why did it fail? We know that technically, like, metallic or whatever components, the nature of those things, that they're not going to last forever. But depending on how they're maintained, if they were built according to the specified standard or not, what material was used, because quality comes in all shapes and sizes. What is the nature of the steel used? Did you use the right composition, or did you use a different composition that was not suited for the types of loads that this component will see on a daily basis? Now, if your quality comes into the situation there, now you have an issue if this is a high stress component. So I'm gonna stop talking because y'all done got me.
I'm gonna come at it from another angle too. Like in my field, right, in dealing with patient care, my bedside manner has to be A1.
Go ahead.
It's not just a reflection on the institution I work with or work for. It's a reflection on me. Because if I'm not doing my part as taking care of them, how will they heal properly or get the best out of their experience or the best out of their healing experience? If I'm treating them, or if I'm not giving them the best quality care or best customer service that I could possibly get. So it all manifests itself terribly if you don't do your part. So I'm a stop, because this neither one of us is about our guests. But I wanted you to define some more terms. Can we talk about industrial engineering, biomedical engineering, break those down as well?
Yeah. So, all right, start with biomedical engineering. Biomedical engineering, there are many, let's say, branches to it. So the school that I went to, our biomedical engineering program was mechanical based. So mechanical based biomedical engineering is you're looking at the mechanics applied to like the human body. So it could be prosthetics where your prosthetics is a mechanical device that helps people with either like missing limbs or non-functioning limbs or something like that, and it's a mechanical device to replace how like your elbows, like a hinge joint, how that hinge works, something like that. It could be electrical, which would be like pacemakers. So, and no, well, actually, no, pacemaker is a pump. Your heart is a pump, but
Yes, that
like
is true. That is true.
a stem, like a neuro stem, something like that, if you have Parkinson's or whatever the case may be. So it could be electrical based, but is how those traditional principles of engineering, mechanical, electrical, are applied to the human body. Industrial engineering is more like the business engineering. So you sometimes you even find it paired with an MBA program, but it's looking at like operations, how to streamline your cost. And I think I saw the comment there where someone said that quality is like operations management. Quality typically falls under operations. They're paying for it. So industrial engineering will look at that, or Lean Six Sigma focus, or supply chain optimization, which I found really cool, but the math was getting a little too out of hand for me.
I
It's
feel
like
you.
statistics, and then like it's like statistical based and like predicting when a customer is going to walk in and to make sure you have the supplies available. It was cool at first, and then when we start getting to like models and things, I was like, yeah, forget this, I'm going to focus on quality.
Oh,
So
I don't think the Black Math Academy likes that too much. He said, listen, sis, I got you. Whatever you need, I got you.
yeah, I was good, but then the statistics just kept going, and I was like, yeah, I just need to graduate.
I had one more comment because I thought this was very important. So we have a comment from the Black Math Academy. It was very interesting. He said, "I've heard of a business dump toxic materials because it was more efficient than disposing it properly. Fiduciary responsibility." Can you speak to where quality engineering and engineering ethics cross, and why it's so important for there to be a healthy understanding of having quality and being efficient, but not sacrificing the ethics aspect of engineering?
Oh, that is definitely like quality's number one standpoint. I remember my interview for from my like first quality role, like the one question that I'll never forget, he said, "Are you okay telling someone no?" Like
Mm,
it doesn't, if it's upper management, whoever the case may be, are you comfortable saying no? We're not going to do this. It's not right. We have to do another plan. So quality is always, especially the quality engineers, they're always that typically like, fortunately, it feels like a police role sometimes, but you have to be able to like stand firmly, like we're not going to do this. And there is some contention with operations because they're like, you know what, if you're saying no, then figure it out. So
Mm,
that is probably one of the most difficult parts of the role, is
mm-hmm,
knowing what is right, standing by it, and then working with the team to figure out a plan, alternative plan, knowing that, you know, it's going to cost the company money, and most companies want to do the right thing and will do the right thing, and
mm,
you know, make those tough decisions that need to be made. But you have to be willing to make those tough decisions in quality.
mm-hmm.
so what are some of the things that you use personally to help you overcome the difficulty of the pushback? Like when you're coming to a team and you're telling them, hey, you know, this product is not meeting its standards. You know, how can we fix this in a timely manner? And when they push back on it, like you mentioned earlier, what are some of the things you pull from personally to kind of get you in the right mindset to be okay? You know, I'm doing my job and I'm not backing down. And at the same time, you showing compassion and good leadership quality.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I generally come with, it's like what is the word, like almost emotional intelligence you have to evoke in a way. You have to
Mm,
understand the other person's perspective, that they too are trying to do their job. So
Mm,
my path of what I normally do to in those situations is I first think, okay, what do they need, what would they be looking for? I'll answer all those questions and then come with the answers. When I'm like, I'm not just going to push back empty handed and be like, no, you can't do this, and sit back like, come talk to me when you figure out what's going to happen. I'll come with the alternative plan. I'll come with all the facts like, all right, I know this is a bad situation, but if we don't do this, this will happen.
mm-hmm,
These are the reasons why we need to move forward with this plan. This is the timeline and how long it will take. And this is what I can do for you in the interim. And I feel like
mm,
that generally that has worked. If I'm coming with all the information and providing you alternative solutions to help you meet your needs, while I'm also trying to we need to get to like the final state.
Yeah, and Jabril and I, we can attest to that, you know, with us working together in OMS. You know, it's always good to, it's never okay, in my opinion, in leadership to always focus on this is how it's done, this is what you're going to do, and you're not going to give me any flack for it. You know, it's always good to also see what the team needs so that everybody can work together and that they can do their job. You know, and Jabril and I, we've gotten a lot better with seeing how we can help each other versus, you know, me being COO and he DOE. And I got, you just gonna do this, do what I say and keep it moving. Nah, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes he'll check me and be like, bro, what you doing? You know, it's a teamwork. It's checks and balances. It's making sure that everybody has, you know, what they need. And when you need a good foot in your behind, you need a good foot in your behind. That's just how it is. You know,
Yeah.
so
true,
sometimes people just be tripping.
true.
You know, so we thank you for explaining how you perform your leadership in your role. You do it very well, and I'm sure that people who are watching can learn from that.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I wanted to get into the workspace for a second because I think this is important for a lot of people who maybe work in corporate or just work a job, work in teams, have an upline or top level leadership or what have you. A lot of times in engineering, you become more successful the more you can present your management with solutions as opposed to problems. What do I mean? So if I'm having a problem as an engineer, right, as a senior level engineer, and I want to go talk to my supervisor, it is better for me to have at least one or two potential solutions for him or her than to just come, hey, I have this problem. What can I do? Can you speak to the importance of always being solution oriented and operating from the point of proposals as opposed to just can you help me out at all times as an engineer?
I mean, I think that's what an engineer is, right? We solve problems.
Right.
So just leaning into that even more is focusing on how can I solve this problem? Every problem that is presented can be solved, and focusing on that. I think that having that mindset has definitely helped me a lot in my career. I think that's probably the biggest thing that actually helped me advance as quickly as I did. Um, and I just became known as that person that solves problems. That's why I say I improve processes, and that's what even led me into industrial engineering, because I noticed that whenever there's a problem, I come with a solution. Everyone's like, "Yeah, go for it." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And then I started fixing more like issues that I found, and I'm like, "Oh, I think I like this," and continue down that path into, helping our departments or organizations solve their problems.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. Well, family, we are at the 26-minute mark of the program,
The
and
time
we
is going way
usually
too fast.
Yeah,
right, right. The
fast.
conversation and we usually like to take this halfway point to talk about a Black-owned business or the Final Call newspaper. So what I'm going to do, family, at this time, I'm going to play a short clip about what the Final Call newspaper is all about. And then we're going to talk about this week's issue. So Awa in the back, if you can, go ahead and play the video for us.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
All right, Jabril, can you take us into what the Final Call is and what this week's issue is all about?
Absolutely. Family, at this time, we are going to go into our Final Call segment. So, the Final Call newspaper is the flagship news source of the Nation of Islam, of which myself and Brother Tariq are a part of. It is a message dedicated to the resurrection of the Black men and women in America and the world, and really the whole of humanity. If you give it an honest read, we have a number of different types of articles: local, national, international news, health and wellness, as well as several spiritual articles to help give you a very well-rounded read to help jumpstart your week and allow you to have very high-level conversation with whoever you meet. To go and get your digital subscription, go to finalcalldigital.com and follow at Final Call Newspaper on all platforms. This week's edition, The Power of Satan Must Be Broken. It says Russia, America, and Europe is in crisis as conflict over Ukraine war hastens the demise of the ruling white world and its fall. See page 3 to find out why. So as we know, there is a war. If hopefully you haven't been living under a rock, there's a war happening over between the Ukraine and Russia, as well as several different issues coming out of that. And at the same time, you have supply chain issues and rumors and issues with food shortages, and you have rising gas prices. Today, the Dow fell by like 1,000 points or something. And you also have the issue with the potential overturning of Roe versus Wade. There's a lot of things happening in today's time. And the Final Call newspaper constantly allows you to have a well-rounded look at your surroundings and society so you can have high-level conversations, as we believe that self-improvement is the basis for community development. So if I'm improving, but Tariq's improving, we're all improving, then our communities will improve as a result. So go to finalcalldigital.com, follow at Final Call Newspaper. And if you're in the Philadelphia, Richmond areas and you want to get your physical edition, you can definitely tap in with myself and Brother Tariq. We'll make sure that you become one of our notable customers. So Final Call Newspaper, family.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, bro. So family, if you are, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. You good, bro?
All right, so family, like Jabril mentioned, that is the flagship flagship product of the Nation of Islam. So definitely check that out. So Jabril, you mentioned something very key when you broke that down. You talked about supply chain issues, and we're talking about quality engineering, and it has a lot to do with supply chains, right?
Yes, sir.
So I want to ask Ledyitee, how, and this ties into the Black Math Academy's question about government. How does this affect, how does what we're seeing now in the world and the chain of events and different things like that, how does that tie into your job as a quality engineer? What are some of the changes that you've seen in your day-to-day career?
Well, it has made me very miserable.
Mm.
These supply chain issues, that is actually my major project or process that I'm managing, is per like the regulations, when a supplier is changing something, they have to send in a change request notice, and that change request notice may trigger a whole bunch of work. Um, a change, the supplier changes are happening because of the disruption to like material, raw material, for example. um let me think of something in particular, like metals, right? Most of that comes from overseas, and
Right.
most of them are not on a plane. um they get sent on the ship, and the supply, we've seen it with Amazon and everything's stuck on the docks.
Right.
So now when your material's stuck on the dock, and they have but so much material, they're like, okay, we can send you this alternative and send it on another ship, or maybe fly it out. That triggers a whole change request that needs to be validated to make sure that material meets the same quality and standard as the original one.
Right. 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 Oh my God. Go ahead. I wasn't cutting you off at all. I'm just bearing
No,
witness
no
to everything
worries.
you're saying. Everything you're
Yeah.
saying is right on point.
So we've
Mm.
seen those change requests like triple in numbers, and it's just a headache.
And
Um,
then, like, as
mhm.
the engineer, right? So now you have to roll with the punches because, okay, you're the critical thinker, you're the problem solver. Okay, this is my process. How do I weave this new alternative into my process? And one of the things with working on ship systems is a lot of material that we have has to be shock and vibration tested. So you now have this alternative that now we have to look at the drawings, and is this a form, fit, and function replacement,
Yeah,
meaning that
yeah,
it looks the same, it can fit into the same area, and it performs the same functions. But
yep.
also, will it perform if this is under some level of cyclic loading? Will it fail after X amount of cycles, or will it not? Right. So now you were used to having this supplier or this vendor. Now you have to change with go to this vendor. So now you as the engineer, you have to see the paperwork and follow the paper trail to see is this going to be up to that same standard. So yes, it keeps you employed, but even as an engineer and you sign up to solve problems, you can run into a level of feeling annoyed when things aren't as lean, if you will, as they could be. But like I said, it pays the bills, and it is fulfilling to be able to kind of see an issue like that is affecting the world and have
Yeah.
a integral part in solving it. So
Yeah. And luckily for me, my current role is focused on solving how we manage that in particular. So we're getting all of these coming in, our teams can't handle it. So I'm looking in, this is where the industrial engineering and Lean Six Sigma comes in. I'm looking at the numbers that we have coming in, looking at the amount of people that we have to do it, which prioritizing which ones are important, which ones are not. Um, yeah, the priority, and then also looking at our overall process. Which steps can we remove from our process? Which steps are redundant? Like sometimes we needed 3 signatures before that process that material can get approved. I'll look at that and be like, do we need all 3, or can we cut it down to 1 signature? That way things move faster. So that's what I do right now, is figure out how things can move faster with all these changes going on, so that we are not so that the impact that we're facing does not show up on the customer end.
You have the luxury of reducing signatures. Oh my God, I'm so jealous. I don't have that. We don't have that luxury. Everybody had to sign that joint.
Yeah, that's why you need somebody that can like dive into the process. Like I'm out here reading all the regulations, reading all our procedures. Okay, what can I cut out? What just
Right.
digging in to see what can be removed.
Got you. Got you. Hmm.
Okay, I missed a little bit, so I'm gonna have to be refreshed. So what exactly did I miss? Like what question was that? So I don't ask it again.
How supply chain causes a nightmare.
Basically.
Okay. Okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about your roots. You know, we talked about, you know, the career side of things. So let's talk about more about how you got involved in engineering. And this is also a question from the Black Math Academy. So what prompted you to choose engineering as a career path? Was it something that you saw in your childhood? Did you make the decision? You know, you talked a little bit about this in the beginning, but what was the spark? Like, what was that initial, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
The spark. I don't think there was just any one moment. It was like a combination of things coming together. I didn't know any engineers growing up. I didn't know about engineering. I'm the first engineer in my family. But all it took was somebody mentioning to me like, hey, did you know you could, based on, I was just talking about my interest and what I wanted to do in college. I started off with biotech. And they're like, oh, if you're interested in biotech, you know, you could probably be an engineer. And I was like, oh, there's a job called engineers. Like, so I just bought a whole bunch of books and started reading. As you can see in the back, that's how I get all my info. I just read.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, so
I need to do more of that.
Started reading my research, and then I was like, just matching what they do. I was like, okay, I like biomedical engineering. Sounds like I can actually, my goal is just to help people. So I'm like, yeah, I can help people as far as healthcare is concerned. Without being a doctor, I'm sold.
You know, and I like that. I like that because you know my goal is to become a physician. I'm actually on that track, and I always wanted to make a difference in medicine before I got there. You know, I never really wanted to wait, you know, until I got the white coat and somebody told me I was a resident and this, that, and the third. I wanted to make a difference right now. So that's why I got involved in research. But is there a particular problem that you see in the Black community that you want to correct with your background in biomedical engineering? And is it something that hit you personally, or is it, you know, just anything, like any problem off the top of the dome that you really want to get rid of and help people out with?
Yeah, so the problem that I wanted to solve and to help people was, and why I said prosthetics, was because my family is from Liberia. And if anybody knows the history of Liberia, we went through a lot. So when I was younger, we moved there and I got to see people with amputated limbs and things like that. And so that was one of the things that stuck with me. Like, I want to go back and help these people. I went there for like, what was it, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So it was like my 4th grade teacher. He had a missing arm. And I'm like, man, how is he over here doing all of this? So that just really stuck in my mind. And I really wanted to go back and do that. But then as I learned more about the medical device space, I'm like, there's so much that can be done. And it's amazing. Like, even like the basic necessities, like in third world countries, like women dying from like C-sections and things like that, they don't have all the proper supplies. So something as basic as sutures, which is a medical device, like getting sutures readily available, or it's just more so bringing the technology and tools that we have here to save lives to the underrepresented.
I love that. Jay?
This really isn't even an engineering comment. I just like that she said underrepresented and not minority, because you know how I feel about the term minority. And I don't use it, because one of the things that I'm always passionate about when I have conversations with Black people is that no matter what room you walk into, you are only a minority if you put yourself in the box of where you are at that moment. But if you consider yourself a global citizen, people who look like you outnumber the world like 13 to 1.
Yeah.
So if you're a global citizen, you're never a minority. And when you understand what you and your people gave to humanity in terms of civilization, you'll never use that term. So underrepresented, marginalized, those are terms that speak to a condition more so than a number, which does not apply to you and I.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a quick lesson on why language is so important, because it will literally start to frame your reality and how you not only think about the external, but how you think about yourself. And then that will then impact how you move through life. So you can't be an engineer, but you always come from the mentality that you're less than. Because how are you going to think critically to solve a problem, but you don't feel like you can solve the problems in your own life?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're trying to solve problems outside of yourself, but you don't feel that you're worth it in terms of solving what you're plagued with day in and day out, let alone somebody else. So all of it's connected. So you literally have to speak what power into yourself and people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or breathe life into people. So again, that's engineering as well. I tell people all the time, I think, I like to talk about engineering more as a methodology as opposed to a specific discipline. Like, oh, I'm not an engineer. Well, I see you got 3 children, work a job, you budget, feed them every day. There's a lot of processes, methodology, critical thinking, and problem solving that goes into that. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say that you live your life in accord with how maybe an engineer does their job. But I digress.
No, yeah, to that last point too. When people, not to downplay like what I do and my knowledge, but when people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're an engineer, that must be so hard," I'm like, "No, you could do it too."
Right.
Like the stuff that you do every day is just that critical thinking. All we're taught in school, other than the math, but a majority of what you're taught in school as an engineer is just how to think.
Right.
You just
Right.
see a problem and just how do you think about that problem differently. If you can do that and learn how to think and analyze problems in multiple ways, then you can be an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And so, what are some of the you mentioned math, of course. What are some of the prerequisites to becoming an engineer? Like, what's the course of study? What do you have to know? What do you have to comprehend in terms of engineering?
Okay. Um, so I think it also depends on which type of engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So,
let's do industrial, like as for example.
okay, industrial engineering statistics. Let me tell you. Statistics is the core for industrial engineering, whereas like mechanical engineering is more so like differential equations, calculus.
Yes. Talk about
Yeah, so
it.
it is really the type of math that you need to understand and how it's applied to that. So industrial engineering is all about probabilities, understanding how probable is for this to occur. Like when you're mitigating risk, it's never gonna be 100% of risk. You can mitigate it like 99.9999, and with whatever confidence and reliability you have to that, right? But you can only go. It's never 100%. So that's why you need to understand statistics. Uh, Whereas mechanical engineering is calculus. Um, Other than the math, for industrial engineering, it will be understanding processes and how to think in systems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so thinking in systems is a skill of its own. You're not just, you have to understand how everything's connected and how they function together. There's this book that I just bought on that. It's really interesting. It's called Thinking in Systems. Um,
Okay. I'm gonna need you to send me that. I'm gonna need you so I can look into buying that for myself for my own library.
okay, gotcha. So yeah, systems thinking, and looking over here at my books, I I think that would be the core of it. and then understanding how to reduce waste. So just that overall mindset, and then a little bit of manufacturing. So when I say manufacturing, how you can acquire that knowledge without going to school is watch how it's made. That's one.
How It's Made is a dope show.
I love
Yeah.
that show. I love that show.
So,
That was the show that really got me interested in doing things on a larger scale, like really understanding how manufacturing works. And you don't have to be an engineer. You can be in any area of science and have a good understanding of manufacturing. And I love that program for that. And we are what time is it now? We are at 46 minutes.
8:45. This is ridiculous.
So we're not, like Jabril and I always say, we're not in the business of having 3-4 hour shows. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up a little bit. But I wanted to ask you, and this is an extension of what the Black Math Academy asked about working with youth. If you were walking in a park, right, and you had how old are your nieces and nephews?
Range from like 14 to the baby, she's 2.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like say if you were with your 14-year-old nephew or niece, correct, you have to correct me on that one. Okay, cool. And you were walking with them down the street, what would you tell them engineering is? Like, how would you simplify it for them?
Yeah, so if I was walking with my niece, I would say engineering is about solving problems and helping to improve our daily way of life in any aspect. So in any way that you identify that we can improve our lives, be it just like it could be even something little, like for instance, like a cup versus a water bottle. Like, having a water bottle that you can take everywhere. I don't think that was always around. So just, I like to break it down for children and like the things that they see around them every day and that they didn't realize like this was a problem that existed before and that someone will engineer. And especially for like a 14-year-old, like that thing that they love on the back of their cell phone, them pop. Well, I don't even know what they
Right.
call.
Yeah. I don't know what
They
they're
can
called too.
pop
Allows you
so
to
they
take
can like do
selfies.
their
Yeah.
selfies.
Yep.
That was a problem. Someone's phone kept dropping out their hands. And they're like, how can I hold my phone better so I can take this selfie? So I always like to relate it back to like the simple things that they use. Engineering doesn't have to be this whole big grand like building a bridge or the latest medical device, which is all great, but it's just like small things that help us in how we live daily.
So it would be good to educate them on Black inventors, right? Because the things that our people have contributed to society were things that were solving problems, so you can educate them about innovators, Black inventors, and what they've done to contribute to different industries. That's another good place to start, showing them, how their lives would be different if these things weren't around,
The traffic light, ironing board, I think the broom, like there were so many things that
I know that's cliche.
Their life easy.
Right. Okay. All right, cool. So we coming up on the end. So we got this thing, right? We got a part of the program we like to call the STEM file speed round. And it's really just a system of lightning fast questions that we ask our guests that have nothing to do with what we're talking about, just to get them to know them a little better, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool. So Jabril, you got the questions up?
I am pulling them up right now. Give me a second. It was funny because I was like prepping it earlier, then I like kind of like forgot, and I was like, I knew it was something I was doing.
Got you. And family, for those who are watching, go ahead and drop a black fist in the comment section if you want Lediyitee to come back on the program to talk more about what she does. Oh, and while Jabril's getting that, can you tell us more about Engineered on Purpose? I don't think we went into that. That was really bother me.
Can't believe
So
myself. Okay.
right, okay, it's our fault. So what is engineered on purpose? What is the goal of your brand, and how has it impacted lives so far?
Yeah, so Engineering on Purpose was a platform that I created to help students transition from college to corporate. Just really in educating engineers on what it like the soft skills needed, what day-to-day life is actually like as an engineer. A lot of the things that you learn in school is really the technical side and not so much information on how it's applied in the daily world. You also
Mm,
may not know how to translate your courses into a job, like translate your courses into like how to get a job.
right.
How does um like I took biomechanics. How does that even apply when I'm looking for a job? I just listed on my resume just cause like
Right.
actually how do you translate those courses and everything that you learn to your resume so that you can land a job and that the job titles align? The other thing that I learned was, I graduated with a degree in biomedical engineering. When I first started looking for a job, everything I was typing was biomedical engineer. I didn't realize that those positions were just like far and in between, and there were so many other things that I could do. Like I'm a quality engineer now. I could be a design engineer. I could be a test engineer,
Mm-hmm.
um, manufacturing engineer. Like there's so many titles that I could have been searching for to expand my job and like to actually find like more options for myself. So on Engineered on Purpose, I help educate people about what their options are, how to navigate their career, and be successful. So far, I there's been a pretty good impact. I help a few people land a job. Make sure they negotiate properly because that's the other issue. We don't know what that range is, where to start. So,
Mm-hmm.
understanding what you should be asking for and how to best sell yourself when you're looking for your first role. So that is a little bit about Engineered on Purpose.
Let me ask you this, and I'm gonna turn it over to Jabril. Why do you think that issue exists? When you go to school, you study something, and there's this automatic struggle of finding a job in that field. Why is the business aspect of whatever you're studying missing? And why is it that they find it so hard to help you find the right career after you're done? Why is that element missing, in your opinion?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I believe it might be due to the fact that most um, professors or administrators within a university are just they're academics, which is nothing wrong with that, but they haven't been in the industry themselves. Some people
Mm-hmm.
have, and they do have industry partners that advise on boards to help them get that information. But a lot of the times in class, you sometimes hear like, okay, I will presume that they do this in industry. They don't have that firsthand experience. So just helping people. That's why internships are very important because your professor, that's their focus is to teach you the technical side. They may not have been there before to actually know what it's like. So you go out and learn what it's like and then bring back the information to them. They confirm some things for you and then you can move on. But if you're missing that internship experience or industry mentor or industry coach, it's very difficult. And I came out with none of that. So
Wow. Well, we're definitely thankful that you were able to overcome that, and looking at you now, you definitely made a great example of what a student who studies engineering can achieve when they're done with school. You doing it and then some, you know. So I'm gonna be quiet because I kind of took up too much of the ending part of the program. So Jabril, go ahead, bro.
No, we're good. So I have the questions up. I just wanted to add something very quickly. One thing at the University of Pennsylvania that we had, there were professors, but there were also senior lecturers. The reason why that was important is because in addition to not knowing industry, professors sometimes, to keep their professorship, well, a lot of times they have to teach. So there's a lack of it being incentivized to help you beyond doing their duty to keep their professorship and keep funding for their research. So you
Mhm.
have to keep that in mind when it comes to feeling like, am I being advised or I'm just being advised? So being a self-advocate and going out and finding, what do we always talk about on the show, Tariq? Mentorship, right? Building your network. People may not like it, but you could be the smartest person on the planet. If nobody knows you, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm going to say that one more time. You can be the smartest person on the planet. If nobody knows you, that doesn't matter. How connected you are and who you're connected to and your ability to articulate value is important. So we're going to leave it at that, and we're going to get into these questions. So as we were saying, these are random questions to kind of learn more about who you are that are outside of the technical realm. You have 3 to 5 seconds to answer, and then we'll quickly move on to the next question. All right, but it's light, it's fast. We have fun with it. So are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. The first thing you do or think of when you wake up?
Food.
Hot or cold?
Hot.
Walking or jogging?
Walking.
Professional work or volunteer work?
Volunteer work.
Favorite pair of shoes of all time?
Ooh. My Sperry's. Yeah.
All right. iPhone or Android?
Android.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Favorite thing to cook?
Favorite thing to cook. Jollof rice.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of going there, but I didn't want to. Okay. Favorite song of all time?
Call Me Al by Paul Simon. I know that's a throw off, but
okay. Youth engagement or raising money for your nonprofit?
You said, what was it?
Youth engagement or raising money for a nonprofit?
Youth engagement. Worst
job you've ever had?
Taco Bell.
Yeah. Worst food you probably ever had too. If you were stuck on an island for a year and you could only listen to 3 albums, what would they be?
Wale. I don't remember the name of it.
Okay.
I know which one it is. Got the picture. Don't remember the name. Wale. Which ones I was listening to? I don't like this.
I give me one more, then we'll move on. Just give me one more.
Okay. Oh. Called Out Music. Yes, Wale, Called Out Music.
Okay.
And then Burna Boy.
Okay. Hey, okay.
You got good taste.
You got very good taste. If you could meet any scientist from the past or the present, who would it be and why?
Any scientist. Jarvid. I don't remember his first name. But he created the first artificial heart.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Got you.
So, if you were not a quality engineer, what would you be?
Oh, artist. I like painting, photography, things like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Listen to this closely. My name is Lediyitee Wheager, and I am
revolutionizing healthcare.
I like it. This is the first time somebody has done a verb.
Right.
I tune in. No, this is
talking about what she's doing instead of what she is. I love it.
Listen, that is fire. This is the first time someone has used a verb instead of a noun. Like, I am a trailblazer. I am revolution. That's hard. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
That is dope.
And thank you for the comment on Android. You greatly appreciate it. So even though I'm making my transition this summer, I still gotta rep my side hard, and I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I'm not ready to give up yet.
Oh man.
Android has a lot of value. Like, I was on an Android before an iPhone. I'm gonna tell you this: the reason why I transferred is because my now wife was not having it. That's the primary reason why I went from Android to iPhone. She was tired of the green bubbles. I needed blue bubbles. in the marriage. So,
I think
go ahead.
Like as an engineer, we know what they do and they push end of life. So why would I join in?
See, that's the thing. My thing is that is a very good point because they really do push end of life. Because when all the phones start acting up and the new one then came out, like we know what it is. It's tongue in cheek. We see what you're doing. Popping them out there. Okay, all right. But hey, I mean, they kind of cornered the market on something. Like the fact that you can sit on a train and literally look. Like, how powerful is it? You can look around and you can see your product being used by everybody on a bus at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I get
that. No, I'm saying that in terms of like cornering a market and the power of a product marketing, that whole culture, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Imagine if you could do the same thing for eating a banana. You know what I'm saying? Like, where would we be differently? But anyway, that was our speed round.
Just to throw a ball out there before we go, if y'all next time y'all should have packaging engineer on to talk about, that, because that's what iPhone does. When you open the box, how it opens like magically and smooth.
Yes, and smooth. Yes.
Presentation. Yep.
That's a packaging engineer that did that.
I didn't know there was an engineer for that. Yep. I thought that was just part of the manufacturing process, but okay.
Yeah, no, the experience. Like, I opened up my new work phone the other day. Opened up like butter. Like, basically, it was like, like if they play that music in the background, it's like you open it and you don't want to break it. Like, you just want to lay it out and just piece it out. It's an experience in of itself. But if you have any recommendations for a black packaging engineer, what have you, please send them our way, because there is an art and a very intense series of systems for packaging, aesthetically as well as functionality. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely. Would you like to do you have any closing remarks before the show? Anything you'd like to ask us or anything like that?
No, I would just like to thank you for having me on today. It's been a great conversation, and wish you all the best and continuing to engage with your audience and bringing them such wonderful content.
Thank you. The honor was all ours, and we definitely look forward to having you back. Sure. Well, family, this has been another. Let me shut up. I'm gonna let my brother do that. Go ahead, bro.
You gotta commit. Like you. You gotta commit. My man just said, "Nope, I'm gonna stop." Family, this has been another installment of the STEM Files, the voice of STEM talent in Black culture, where we do our best to highlight the best and brightest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I am Jabrilliant Engineer, always joined by Tariq. Follow us at the STEM Files on Instagram and Twitter. Also, we are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook and YouTube at the STEM Files. Make sure to subscribe, share, comment. We do our best to give you high quality content that is meaningful for you, your family, and society, as we try to extend the narrative, extend the truth that is Black is STEM. We are Black in STEM, but Black is STEM. Until next time, family, let us continue to grow in whatever you choose to do of value. As we are taught in the Nation Respond by the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, everything of value has a difficulty factor attached to it, but it's not impossible. So go and do something of value, add to yourself so you can be a person who adds to society, and we can all move forward in a very efficient, effective, and ethical manner. Until next time, family, Jabrilliant Engineer Tariq and Miss Wheagar, Quality Engineer. Thank you so much for your time. Peace.
Peace, man.